There's something about keeping a journal of my travels that also makes it feel like I'm traveling through time. Romanticizing a train journey by writing in your notebook about the place that you just experienced is such a main character of the movie of my life kind of moment. I really couldn't recommend it enough. So let's take a look through the spreads I'm adding to the beginning of my travel journal for my upcoming trip to the UK in April and May. Most of this journal will be filled with my memories, but there are a few things I like to have first that will help me through the trip. Hi, I'm Erin, and I love traveling, but I live in Australia, so everywhere is really far away from us. This is the spectacular notebook I've chosen for this trip. It is the Antique Floral Journal from Archer & Olive, and I got it in the B6 size, so it's nice and small and transportable. I think the cover is just perfect for spring in the United Kingdom. And as ever with the Archer & Olive journals, even the inside cover has this gorgeous gold foiling. It is so pretty. Regardless of the purpose of my journals, I always like to start with a cover spread to set the intentions for the notebook, and I went ahead and made some title stickers for this one with my Cricut, which is one of my favourite things to do when I know I won't fill a whole A4 page of print then cut stickers with the thing that I set out to make, so I just make some titles at the same time, which is exactly what I did here. I have scoured through my stationery collection and chosen some of the most springtime feeling things I could based around a green and pink colour scheme. So this washi tape is from Leela Journals with the pink roses on. The script washi tape I'm layering right next to that is from Paper Monogatari, but you can get a very similar one from JOURNALSAY as well. It is probably my most used washi tape in my entire collection because it just adds the perfect amount of texture to any layout and a little bit of whimsy without really drawing your eye or feeling too overwhelming. I made a little test run mood board for this layout in my research and development journal just to test that everything was going to look good together before I committed to my pages. But I didn't plan out where I was going to place everything, only that I was going to use these things together, so I am completely winging this title page as we go. And I'm using two pre-cut tapes from the washi tape shop as my details. This one is the French Courtyard tape in the PET version. So many lovely soft watercolor florals in that one, and doors and gates and houses. This Ivy PET tape came with the Notebook Therapy Secret Garden gift set, which included a notebook as well, which I almost used for this journal but decided to go with a different one instead. I also used this tape a lot at the beginning of my reading journal for this year. It is just so gorgeous. I would use this tape in everything if it worked with every theme. And this is the other one from the washi tape shop. This is the Spring Cafe pre-cut washi tape. So you can think of the Spring Cafe and the French Courtyard tapes as the details, and everything else is kind of the supporting characters. I wanted to make sure I had a bit more pink represented on the page too, so I'm adding a few of these single flower heads. These are actually also from the washi tape shop from the Petal Studio bundle, and they're quite large for individual flowers like this, so they're a little tricky to use, but I find they work really well as layering pieces. I wanted the beginning of this journal, the theme for all of the pages we're setting up in this video today, to feel like taking a walk through a spring garden in full bloom. But I could see myself getting carried away with this theme if I don't take care to stop before things get too much, so it's definitely time to put some titles down. And this is the strength of having your titles on stickers or on a separate piece of paper, because you can layer them over the top of things and still have them be very easy to read. Whereas often if you're writing directly on the paper, you need to make sure that you've left some nice empty space for things to be very legible. And I want this title to look like it's overgrown, so I'm adding all my tiny floral stickers around it like they grew there on their own. Since I'm going on such a big adventure, I wanted to make sure I'm ready to capture every moment of it. Of course, I'll be junk journaling and writing about my adventures in this very journal we're setting up, but I like to print my own photos for my travel journals too, so I wanted to make sure I'm getting the best photos I can, which is where today's video sponsor Skillshare comes in. I took this class with Sean Dalton called Travel Street Photography, telling visual stories with powerful street photos. I was a wedding photographer for years, so I already have the camera operation stuff down, but travel photography is a whole different area, and it was so cool to see the kinds of moments and framing Sean could find just walking through a street market. But he also mentioned you don't have to be traveling to find these moments, you can seek them out in your hometown too. It's been a while since I used the photocentric part of my brain, so Sean's class was such a great refresher, and I went on a little Brisbane City photo walk to give my creative muscle a warm-up. I'm personally not super keen on candidly photographing strangers up close, but Sean talked about finding stories in the small details, so that's what I tried to focus on here, and I'm so excited with the photos I captured. These were just in my own city, so I can't wait to see what I can capture on my trip. Whether you're trying to cut down your screen time or upskill for work, Skillshare is the best place to learn a creative skill or pick up a new hobby. If you're looking to reconnect with your creativity and maybe avoid brain rot, Skillshare is where humans come to learn from other humans. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. We're moving into the functional spreads now, and this one is one I think absolutely every travel journal needs. Even if you don't think you'll refer back to it on your trip, it's something you might want in the future, and that's an itinerary spread. I don't think I'll forget where we're going next, which cities we're going to in which order, or where we're staying in each one while we're on the trip, but I do think it will be really helpful to have that information in the future in case we think, what was that really great hotel we stayed at in York? I'd like to stay there again. What was it called? And this is a pretty long trip. We're going for around about a month, and we're going to a lot of different places in the UK during that time. So I'm going to need 2 spreads, but I know this journal's going to get very chunky. It's going to have a lot of stuff glued into it once we get on the road. So I thought I'd help to debulk it a little bit by adding a Dutch door, which means removing part of the paper to leave this little flap that will have some information on it, and the facing side of that flap and the other page will also be part of the itinerary spread. So all of this will be one cohesive unit, and it means I don't have to do any extra decoration either. All of the washi tape that you can see already down on the page, except maybe this one that's lining the edge of the Dutch door, will be visible regardless of which way this little Dutch door flap is pushed. So it's very economical in that regard. I have also very deliberately chosen thin things to decorate with for the same reason, because I know this journal will end up chunky, so that's giving me kind of a head start in keeping things a little bit slimmer. So just washi tapes and PET tapes, no cardstock, no vinyl stickers, just keeping it very sleek. When you remove part of the page to make a Dutch door like this one, where you're cutting very close to the binding, I always like to leave a little sliver of paper there and just use some white washi tape to stick it to the pages either side so that the journal stays very robust. Because the last thing I want to happen is to have this notebook fall apart while I'm halfway through my trip, so anything that keeps it a little bit stronger is a good thing in my eye, and then I'll just cover that with a little bit of decorative tape. The good old second line highlight. You can never go wrong with a second line highlight. I'm using the Tombow Dual Brush Pen in the N89 grey because it is my very favourite second line highlight colour of all time, and the grey ties in a little bit with my headings that I made for this setup because I hadn't picked a colour scheme yet when I made those, so I picked something nice and neutral that I knew would work with anything, but this is my way to make sure they really do tie in with something grey represented on the page. I'm going to make sure I have all of the decoration for these spreads completely squared away before I jump in with my actual itinerary information. So we still have a few more details to add. I definitely want to add a lot more flowers because this spread doesn't quite feel like walking through a garden to me just yet. Also, if you like the look of any of the stationery I'm using in this video, I will have links to as much of it as I possibly can link to down in the description, so you can get your hands on it too if you like. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and so I have come up with a sticker sheet that I really wanted for my travel journal, and I thought, why not make it available for you guys to purchase too if you'd like? So this is my transport icon sticker sheet. It is available as a digital download purchase from my store on my website, and it's a backgroundless PNG with the circles for the stickers already part of the design. So if you have a Cricut or a Silhouette or similar cutting machine, you can turn these into stickers very easily for yourself at home too. But if you don't have a Cricut or a Silhouette or similar, you could always just print them out and cut them out with scissors or with one of those sliding guillotine cutting machines. That would work just fine too. I'm filling out the journal with my actual travel information, so I've blurred it out just for privacy reasons. I haven't left for the trip yet at the time I'm publishing this video, and I don't want to be stalked, so please forgive me for that. If you'd like to see a flip through of the completed journal when I get home, please let me know, and I won't have it blurred in that one because it won't matter anymore. This next spread we're adding was a bit of a wild card. I hadn't decided I wanted this one yet when I made my title, so I don't have a printed title for it. We're just going to hand letter it for this one, but for now it's just going to look like a calendar, albeit a very weird calendar because it's going to have half of April and half of May on a single page, as though it is a single month of its own. That's just because those are my travel dates, and so that is the most logical way I could think of to put together a page like this. I'm drawing out my calendar with a fine liner using a broken line technique to make it look a little bit softer and more whimsical. This takes longer, but I love the effect, so I think it's worth it. While I do that, I feel like I need to give you a little bit of context here in case you haven't seen the style of page that has inspired what I'm going to do here. There's a junk journaling trend that has been massive on TikTok and Instagram lately. Some people call it a scrap a day, or some people call it a daily scrap challenge. The idea is that you forage a little piece of paper. It could be part of a wrapper for something that you ate, it could be part of a receipt, some kind of paper that you interact with in your day, and you punch it into a specific shape. Some people are doing stamps, some people are just doing rectangles, and you place them in a grid on a page and make a sort of tiled collage out of them, and that is your daily scrap page. I'm going to do that, but with tea bag tabs. I'm so excited about this concept. I can't wait to get started on it. I love tea. I drink tea every single day, and I feel like the United Kingdom is a place that just gets my love of tea, so this just feels too perfect. And I have noticed from previous trips that England has a very specific regional tea culture. There will be different teas in accommodation in different cities and that kind of thing, so I think it's going to be quite interesting and varied, which is just so exciting. As I mentioned, I don't have a title sticker for this one because I didn't know yet that I was going to do this when I was making those titles, so just lettering this one with a Pentel brush sign pen in a nice soft pink that looks great with my theme. And then we can add a few more little touches of decoration around. Of course, I couldn't resist the little bunny in a teacup, coffee cup, something. You know, I don't drink coffee, we'll just call it tea. And the little spring cafe down in the right corner too, the green cafe, was just also too perfect for this spread. So I love the way that worked out. This spread is now complete and ready to take all of my tea bags, and I can't wait to get going on that one. But for now, we're moving on to something that is an absolute must-have for me in a travel journal, and I have learned this through experience. I've had spreads like these before, and I used them so much and I found them so useful. These ones get a little bit of use before I actually leave on the trip, because these spaces are for research for each of the places that we'll visit. We're hitting a lot of different cities and towns in the UK on this trip, so I've been watching YouTube videos and TikToks about all of them, and there are some things that I want to see and do in each place, and I don't want to forget what those are, so I'm setting up a little section for each place, and I'm just going to list out what the things are that I'm interested in, so that when we get there we can say, all right, what are we going to do tomorrow? And have a look at the list and know what we're going to do. It's also really useful for planning in advance for things like day trips that might be in higher demand, so you don't want to miss out. If you find out about those kinds of demands, then you can make a note and book things before you leave or as soon as you arrive. I have found this so useful, especially when you're starting to get a bit tired, because the way I like to travel is fairly go, go, go. We don't do a lot of resting and relaxing. So if you're really tired but trying to work out what you might do the following day, a spread like this is so handy. You can just look back and say, oh, we haven't been to this castle yet. Shall we do that tomorrow? And you're good to go. I have set these up as full double-page spreads before for a really big trip like this one. I have also given them their own single page in my A6 travel journal that I used on my last trip. I've decided to condense them down even smaller this time and just give each one half a page of this B6 because I think that's really all the space I actually need. We won't really be in any one location for longer than maybe 4 days max, so I think this should be plenty of room. all of our destinations. They've all got their own little space for planning now, but I had this page left over. I'm not completely sure how I want to use this one, but it never hurts to have a little bit of flexibility baked in. So I'm just going to gently decorate this one, give it a little bit of pretty stuff, and leave it blank for whatever purpose it ends up telling me it wants to have later. If you're anything like me, maybe you also love a tracker. I have trackers at the beginning of my everyday journal that I use at home that I fill out on the first day of every month, but I'm going to be on my trip for that time and I'm not planning on taking my everyday journal with me. I'm just taking this one. So this spread is going to function as a stand-in for that tracker spread in my other journal, and when I get home, I can transfer the information from this spread back into my main journal. Those are my social media tracker mostly and my savings tracker. So at the end of every month, I like to write down where my savings are at and where my socials are at so that I can track improvement or possibly the opposite, possibly a lack of improvement. I also track the social media information for 2 dance groups that I'm part of. So I like to have all of that data in one place in the travel journal so it's very easy for me to access later. And my darling kitty Mitsu really does hate it when I go traveling. He will be with my mum. He'll be very well taken care of. He just really likes his primary human, and that's me. But this will be the first time we've been away on a big trip since we had Peaches join our family, our sweet little younger kitty cat, and we're hoping because they're very close that maybe they will support each other through it and things will go maybe a little better than usual, because Mitsu usually takes a bit of time to warm up and get used to new surroundings. The facing page here is also in a similar vein. This one is for tracking payments that come in while I'm away on the trip. So as part of being a person who makes videos on YouTube for a living, my income often comes through in many smaller payments over the course of the month from different places, so it's very helpful for me to have a place to write those down as well, so I can add them to my spreadsheet for accounting purposes when I get home. I'm worried I'll lose track if I don't write them down as they come in, so this is a really important one for me and I will use it a lot. Speaking of finances, we've got 1 spread left to set up. This one might actually turn into 2 depending on how much I need to use it while we're on the trip. We are away for a whole month, so it's possible that that will happen. I'll need some overflow. This one is for tracking the expenses related to the trip. So things that we've already paid for, like flights and accommodation, things that we will pay for on the trip, like any day trips that we do, or entry to museums or food. I want to have a complete snapshot of every dollar that I spend on this trip so that I can refer back to it the next time I'm planning a trip and know maybe what I need to budget, although inflation continues to come for us, doesn't it? So this is quite similar to the cash flow tracker that I set up in the mystery journal and in my own money journal that I use every month too, but I'm dividing things into categories. So I'm going to have 2 columns to a page, 4 columns to a spread, and each one is for a specific purpose. I did have this spread in mind when I made my title stickers, so I have titles that read trip expenses, but I didn't make the titles for the smaller categories because I hadn't determined those yet, so we'll hand letter those ones, but for now let's get the trip expenses stickers down on the page. And those 4 categories are as follows. Transport, which will cover things like planes, trains, Ubers, taxis. Food, that one's probably going to be a doozy because eating for a month is expensive. Attractions, this will be admission to any museums or exhibits, or if we book any day trips to any locations outside of the places we're staying, all of that will fall under attractions. And naturally, it's getting its own category. The last one is for stationery, because you know I will find some and it will have to come home with me. I'm adding a vertical line here in that same broken line style where I'm just using the last 3 dot grid spaces of each of the columns. That's going to be where I write the amount, how much I spent on things, and the larger space to the left will be where where I write down what the thing was that I spent the money on. And then I can tally things up according to their columns and know exactly how much money I spent across everything to make this trip happen. I'm only going to set up the one trip expenses spread in this video, but I probably will set up the second one before we leave on the trip so it's ready to go, and I won't title those columns, I will just use them as needed. I'm sure I'll think of other categories that I'll need while I'm away, or maybe need some overflow for things like food, so I won't share that in this video, but just know that it's something that I have considered. Let's get some decoration down on this spread so it feels like part of the overarching theme of the notebook so far. This theme is just for these initial spreads in the journal that help me with planning things. I'm not going to be carrying the theme forward into any of the memory keeping stuff. That is going to just be kind of situational ephemera and things that I come across on the trip. So the theme is just for the start. Let's take a flip through all of the pages we've just set up from start to finish, and if you have any suggestions for any ideas for a travel journal that I might have missed, please let me know what those are down in the comments. What are your essential travel journal spreads? Don't forget my transport icon stickers are available at a link down in the description in case you want to get your hands on those and print and cut some stickers for yourself. And I'd also like to know, what do you think is the perfect size journal for traveling? This one is a B6 and I think it's going to be really good. I've used a B6 for a month-long trip before and it was just about perfect, but is there another size that you prefer, or does it depend on the length of your trip? Let me know in the comments down below about that too. I'll be a little bit less active here on the channel. I'll still be posting videos while I'm away, but I won't be in the comments as much as usual. So if you don't see me replying to things, please don't be worried. I'm just having a really good time. I can't wait to bring this journal home full of new memories. They truly are the best souvenirs. And if you'd like to check out what some of my previous travel journals have looked like when complete, check out one of these two videos. One also has some tips for staying on top of your travel journaling while you're on the road, and the other one is for a shorter trip in a tiny journal.